Coming up on the pod this week, I talk about some updates of things I got going on, a few things I got in the works, and I want to give you guys updates on. And then I got some updates on the no headphones on a plane saga. Spoiler alert, I said some shit to someone. More to come on that. And I also recap my trips to Cincinnati and Columbus. I had a great time. I have a lot of stories from that, and still learning on this whole journey, man. And the week you're watching this, I'm going to be in Orlando this Sunday at the Orlando Improv. I want to say it's like 7 o'clock or something, but it's a Sunday. Come out. It's going to be a great show. Tickets are looking good. I'm very excited for the show. And then after that, I will be in Omaha November 8th, Kansas City November 9th, Hartford, Connecticut November 16th, Boston. It's coming up, man. November 17th to the 18th. 3 shows in Laugh Boston. The Saturday early show is like halfway sold out, so that's a big show. If you want to come to that one, get tickets now before they're gone. And then I'm going to finish out the year just real quick. Got a few more. Indianapolis, December 6th. St. Louis, December 7th. Get to stay with my aunt and uncle that night. They live in St. Louis. And then Naples, Florida, December 19th to 20th. Doing 3 shows at Off the Hook Comedy Club. And then I will finish the year out in Fort Lauderdale at the Dania Improv, December 21st. And I'm excited, dude. I'm going all over the goddamn country still. I'm not done. And we're going to keep it going for next year, too. And let's get going on the podcast right now. Very excited to be back with you guys. Let's do it. We're back, man. We're back. I'm here. I got my hair doing a thing. I got the beard cooking. If you're a guy, you kind of need to mess with your facial hair a good amount of times. You got to just do all the things. The full beard, the mustache, the goatee, all the variations of it. Clean shaven. I like keeping it interesting. You know what I mean? Mike, you have a nice little beard going here. You got to experiment sometimes with the beard, you know? Especially if you can grow it, fuck around with it, man. Life's short. Have a weird beard. Mutton chops, who knows, dude? I don't know. A couple updates here other than my riveting beard conversation. I definitely want to start. I want you guys to know that I want to start having guests soon. I assume some people have thought about it. They'd be like, hey, could use some more guests on the show. And I agree with you guys. Thing is I didn't want to come out and do this podcast very much guest driven. I didn't want to have to rely on guests for this podcast. And I also wasn't really concerned about, having huge episodes early on, because to me, this podcast and this show is I'm in this for the long game. So I'm not really worried about huge, massive views and results up front, because I know I'm going to be doing this shit for a long time. And so I more so wanted to establish a rapport with you guys and establish what the show is, the dynamics of kind of my little road recaps I do, and get you guys used to that rhythm. And then I'll start bringing in guests to kind of round out the format a little bit more. And I'm excited. And I would love to hear who you guys want to see on the show. Also, if you want to comment wherever you're able to comment, whether you're watching or listening to this somehow, who do you want to see on the show, man? Any comedians you want to see? Non-comedians? Who knows, man? I'm happy to reach out to someone I don't know and be like, hey, come do the pod. It gets millions of views. Then I gotta check. They don't fucking know. So anyways, I want you guys to know that is that's on my mind. I feel you. I'm sure you guys want more guests, and we're gonna do it, man. I'm excited. I have some ideas, some big ones, and we'll see. We'll see. Some of them are probably kind of hard to wrangle, but I'll get them. I feel good about it. And also, I want to share a new thing with you guys that I have not really told many people yet of something I'm working on. And I figured this would be a good place to talk to you guys about it, because I feel like we've established a connection. And I know I feel like you guys are my diehard day one type of people. So I want to keep you guys in the loop. I'm launching what's basically going to be a sort of like a Patreon, essentially, for myself, not just for the podcast, just for myself. And I'm doing it with a smaller company that's kind of on the up and up. They're called Grouped. And the reason I wanted to start kind of a paid channel with them is I like being kind of early on in a smaller company's growth. I like that instead of just being a small fish in a giant pond that is Patreon. I'd rather kind of go with a company that I can have a more personal approach with. I've developed a connection with the CEO, and it just feels really cool, man. And the point of why I bring it up is what I'm going to be doing on there. I think you guys will be into, and I don't really think people have done this stuff before. There's a musician I really look up to, and he's with them, and his name's Mike. And what he does on his basically paid subscription is he'll share demos of songs that are kind of unfinished, unreleased, and get people's feedback, get people's thoughts on them. And I always thought that's a really cool model for entertainment. I think it kind of brings you guys into the process of it all. And I think that's interesting. And to me, that's never really been done in stand-up. So I kind of was inspired by how they ran it, where I want to start doing it for stand-up clips, where on that site, I basically want to be able to put up not just unreleased clips, but also clips that maybe I'm on the fence about. Maybe I've edited them halfway, and I want to hear you guys' thoughts on them. You know, basically kind of like building this. I'm more interested in building a community than I am like getting money. This is more so to kind of create more of a personal experience of this whole thing, because I think that's really important. And like I've said before, I'm only here because of you guys, the whole just us thing. So I want to keep that going and kind of blow it up and really start to build this community with you guys, which I don't really see a lot of in stand-up. So that's one aspect of it. It's kind of an unreleased stand-up clips hub for that. And also I want to start doing kind of a road exclusive podcast in where me and whoever's on the road with me, whatever opener, whether that's my buddy Nolan, my buddy Anthony, we're going to do a little road pod, a little hotel room, fucking around road pod that is only going to live on that channel. I haven't exactly found a name for it, but it's really just going to be like after a show, me and an opener just kind of fucking around. And you know, I think that's again, just another, I'm trying to make it valuable to worth your guys' time. So I'm going to do that, the podcast, do a few live streams here and there, and also have you guys be the first to hear tour dates, basically. So the second I get some sort of offer for a tour date, I will put it on that channel to be like, hey, heads up, save the date. This is the date that I'm coming to X city. So that's what I'm working on right now. More to come. I bet it'll launch within the next few weeks. I recorded a bonus pod with my buddy Nolan on this last trip. I think it's funny. I think it's cool to see kind of a live look into our lives at the time in the hotel room. It's just a very like raw and real moment that I think you'll be into. If you like this, I think you'll like that. So that's what I'm working on. I think that'll launch in a couple weeks. I'm excited. Again, feel free to leave comments of other things you want to see. If you like that idea, if the whole unreleased clips thing, I think could be really cool, and something that, again, getting feedback on this type of stuff is not something I've really seen in the comedy world before, but I don't know, man. You know I like to be a little different. It's my whole thing. So more to come on that. Look, man, had a fun trip. I went to Cincinnati and Columbus, little Ohio. Never been to Ohio before. Mike, have you been to Ohio before?
Only passing through, maybe a couple days at work, but never any leisure.
Because I know you're a Midwest guy. I wasn't sure if you ever tapped into the Ohio.
Well, we have this little saying, "Oh, how I hate Ohio State," but
Wait, is that a saying, or you just the saying is, "Oh, how I hate Ohio State"?
Yeah,
okay, I didn't say that.
It's a football thing.
I assumed it's a football thing. People fucking love. Basically, anywhere that's not like California, people are obsessed with football. That's what I'm realizing. The South, the Midwest, football. West Coast, I don't even know what West Coast is. We're too busy hanging out outside. I think that's the main difference there. But did a little Ohio trip, man. Went to, the first show was in this town, Liberty Township, which is about 40 minutes outside Cincinnati. Turns out a little far from Cincinnati. We'll just say that. And then the next day I went to Columbus, which is a big market for me. I knew I had a lot of fans there, so I was very excited to do Columbus. But no, you know we got to talk travel, though. We got to talk travel, because that's a lot of what this is, man. Talking about the journey to these places. And I flew to, here, I have a thing to bring up. I don't know, how do you guys feel? I don't know, Mike, I'll ask you this too, I don't know how, I'm deciding how I feel about the layover on a flight. It's like, do you like, let's say you have a 4-hour flight. Do you like just going straight there, 4 hours straight there, no bullshit? Or do you like the stop off, you do 2 hours to like a Texas, chill, grab a bite to eat, then hop on another 2-hour flight to the other place? That's what I did. And I kind of like it because it breaks up the things. Let's say more variables for shit to get fucked up. But also, he's right. I'm right in that. But also, let's say you're sitting next to a really bad person on one flight and you're like, oh, at least I'm done with this fucking idiot after 2 hours, right? I can take another gamble on somebody else. So those are my thoughts. Mike, what do you think about that? I don't know.
The variables for me, I can't risk losing gear, layovers.
True.
One flight gets delayed now. There's so many flights that I think for various reasons just are getting pushed. I think in your industry, if you got to be somewhere at a specific time, it's double jeopardy there.
You're right. Double jeopardy. Took the words right out of my mouth. Is this a double jeopardy flight, or is this only a regular one? I will say that, but that is why I fly the day before. If I ever go anywhere that's not West Coast, basically I always do day before, because if shit gets wrong, I don't want to be like, because I've been a part of a thing. I was opening for a buddy and we like missed the connection and we missed the first show. I'm like, I don't ever want to do that shit. No way. So I don't know. I could go either way, but I like the layover, man. I did Burbank to Dallas, got Shake Shack in the airport. Dude, I don't think there's anything better than like when you're really hungry, like a good burger. I don't think there's many things better. I was eating that Shake Shack burger. I was like, I'll just not do the flight. I'll just not do the trip. I'll go back home. This burger was so good in the Dallas airport. I'll just go back home. I don't care. It was fine. Man. So let's talk the real shit. Okay. Let's get into the realness of what I need to talk to you guys about. Okay. Last episode, I got fired up and did a whole thing about how people don't wear headphones on flights. And it drives me insane. Posted a clip about it online. People agreed. A few people, which rightfully so, a couple shitty comments. I see them. Okay. One of them was like, well, you can't say shit about this because you didn't say anything to the person, right? That was the whole thing. If you didn't listen to that, the whole thing is that I didn't feel comfortable telling the person next to me to essentially, hey, shut up and wear headphones, right? Because I feel uncomfortable with the conflict and I'm sitting next to them for the whole time. It's like, I'd rather not say anything, right? But some of the comments were like, well, dude, you can't say anything about this because you didn't try to change the situation. So I was like, fair enough, which is totally fair, okay? I understand. Still get a little nervous. So I get on the first flight, Burbank to Dallas, and the woman in front of me, speakerphone conversation, okay? On the phone, speakerphone, way too loud. And I'm like, okay, this is annoying. We're at the gate though. So in my head, I was like, well, I'm not going to say anything right now because I know that when we're in the sky, you can't be on the phone, right? Unless the whole FaceTime Wi-Fi thing happened. But that was a crazy situation. I don't think it's normal. But she was on a call and I did a little spying. You got to spy a little bit on what's happening, right? So I peeped through the middle of the seats and I see what she was doing. Some sort of maybe like shipping UPS thing. And I was like, okay, I'm sure this is important, put headphones on. But if not, it's okay. We're going to let it slide, right? Let it slide. Sure enough, we took off. 2.5 hour flight, not a peep. I was like, good. See, if I said something, it would have been stupid. Now, as we're landing, I'd say 30 minutes left on the flight. This lady starts to play a movie and she puts it in the phone dock holder thing on the tray table and blasting it with no headphones. And I'm like, oh man, okay. I look at the people next to me, this older couple, and we were kind of looking at each other like, oh, what's going on here? I could tell people doing the what is that? What is the, And I was looking at her, I was like, man, like I was like, I really want to say something. I really do. But I was like, I'm nervous, right? Not good with conflict. I'm nervous. But you know what? No bullshit. I had your guys' non-existent voices in my head. And I had my own, because I wasn't about to come on this podcast and be like, yep, I pussied out again and I didn't say anything. And so for the sake of this show, I said some shit. I between the seats, I said, hey, excuse me. She said, huh? And I said, hey, do you have headphones? I've said that before. I said, do you have headphones? And she and I could tell she didn't speak English. And she went like this. For my listeners, she's doing a thumbs down. And that could mean anything. Thumbs down could mean 3 different things. It could be, no, I don't have headphones. Or, oh, I'll turn it down. Or thumbs down to you thumbs down. Your whole thing, thumbs down. Your request, no, I don't like it, thumbs down. I still don't know what it meant. But she turned it down. Didn't hear the movie again. And I felt like the hero of the flight. I should have gotten off first. I should have gotten upgraded on my next flight, post Shake Shack. But I did it. And it felt good. I definitely felt a little shaky after, you have a confrontation with someone, you get back in your car, you're like, okay, all right, let me settle down a little bit, a little shaky, right? That's fine. It was worth it because I was so excited. I was literally looking out the window on my flight being like, I can't wait to talk about this on the podcast, how I didn't pussy out. Yes, dude, I did it. And it doesn't end there. So this is a ridiculous thing that I'm like getting so into. So next flight, do Dallas to Cincinnati. I'm in the window, no middle, shout out. Aisle, taken up, older man, older guy who's ripping through Instagram reels. No headphones, right? Ripping through them. I can't believe he even was dialed into reels that much, bro. He was cooking on these reels, all sorts of stuff. I was looking at his algorithm, all sorts of wild shit on there. He had some snake thing, a cooking thing, a sports thing. And I was like, okay. But here's what's good is that I was already in the zone of calling people out. I warmed up on the first flight. So I'm with this dude. I made eye contact with another person on the row who's kind of like, what's this guy doing? And I was like, in my head and non-verbally, I was like, don't worry, I got this. And not just I got it, but like, this is my thing now. I'm the airplane police, right? And so I lean right over to him. And because he's like an older guy, so I'm going to be, obviously respectful and be like, and I said, hey, do you have headphones? And again, the guy didn't speak English. I don't know what that is. I mean, take your guesses here. I don't know what it is, but he barely spoke English, and I think I think he understood me because he was like, oh, yeah. He should have thumbs down me. That'd be fucking awesome, though. If he did that, he said, no, I don't like you. Thumbs down. But he turned it down. I'm crushing it. I'm crushing it to the point that I worry a little bit with my newfound power and strength that I'm going to start abusing it a little. Like, not just abusing it, but I'll be too quick to, like, get on someone, right? Someone next to me, they open TikTok for 3 seconds. I'm like, hey, do you have headphones? Hey, do you? Like, just so fast. It felt good. It felt really good. And I feel like I'm more comfortable. I want to get a little more comfortable with confrontation, right? And I felt great. Until I landed in Cincinnati, where we stayed in. I used my buddy's Hilton account. My buddy gets great Hilton discounts, so I usually stay at Hilton's. And I found a random Hilton. Stayed in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. By the way, Cincinnati, all these states are right around it. There's like Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio. It's all like right in the same. Like I crossed through Ohio and Indiana 4 times. Stayed in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. And this is the only time I've ever landed in a city, which, by the way, where we stayed, at first it was kind of like, what is this random creepy ghost town? It was like one of the prettiest, nicest towns I've ever seen. It was one of these old school Midwest towns that it was like one of the first towns. That's what it felt like. Like one of the like, oh, this is 1886. This is the first town. Here's a town. Lawrenceburg. I'm Lawrence. Here's my burg, right? And it was beautiful. I stayed next to this like river walk thing where I posted about it on Instagram. People would have to have a really good memory. You know, I'll try to put up a picture of it. It was this like beautiful like clock tower with these blue neon lights, the river, and it was pristine, clean. It almost looked like a Harry Potter type of thing with the way the colors were. And I kept looking at it like, oh, this is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I didn't even realize until later. I was like, oh, this is unbelievable. Because you get in late and it's cold and you're like, just frustrated with everything. But dude, it was like beautiful. And what wasn't beautiful though is why I brought up, things are good until I got there, is because this is the only time that I've landed in a place, and it was late, it was like midnight, where there was no food available. If I wanted to eat food, that's like not gonna happen. I think it was like a Burger King I could walk to, like 2 miles away, maybe. And I don't even know if that's open. It was like I opened DoorDash, and DoorDash was like, there's nothing. I've never seen that. Usually you can do like a Papa John's or like a Wingstop late. Zero food. And it was a weird thing. I've never had that happen. So I went down to the hotel lobby and I got 3 different versions of peanuts, like a trail mix, like a salted peanuts, and like a honey roasted peanuts. And that was my dinner. I had 3 different packs of peanuts for dinner. And I've never had that happen before in my life. Usually you can find something, you know.
We're going to rate our favorite type of peanuts?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Honey roasted is my favorite. Honey roasted peanuts is probably one of the best snacks of all time. Love a honey roasted cashew. Those are 1 and 2 for me. And then I like a trail mix because you get like the banana chips and you get the little M&Ms in there. That's kind of nice. Little bad boy shit with the M&Ms, right? And then probably just regular peanuts, I'd say would be my favorite. Oh, and in terms of like nuts, I'd say, you know, if I'm going healthy, raw cashews, those are probably the best raw nut.
I'm with you on the cashews.
Yeah, raw cashews. Or almonds.
If you had the salt and pepper cashews?
No. Ooh. Where do you get those from?
Ralph's. They're Simpleton stuff.
That's good. I try to keep it a little less salty if I'm going to do nuts because this whole conversation is just so sus. Yeah, I'd say I did almonds for a while, but almonds, it just doesn't taste good.
Bark.
It's tree bark. Yeah. You're being healthy though. It's like eating a salad that sucks. You're like, ugh, I know I'm doing right. I'm doing it right, but I don't like how I'm getting there. Getting there sucks, right? I love the feeling of when you're done with a salad though. That's the best feeling. When you did it, you're like, ugh, I'm the fucking man. I just ate a full salad. God, I'm so fucking healthy. Ugh. Time to eat some ice cream. So Cincinnati, here's the deal. It was one of these cities where again, kind of the dynamic is I'll tell my agent, I'll be like, hey, these are the cities I would like to do. And she's like, got it. And mostly gets me all of them, right? It's more of a matter of when and how much money. So Columbus was one of those where I was like, yep, I got a lot of emails. Because again, my email list is still very real. If you go on my website, you can submit your city. And that's all very real info. And that helps me dictate what cities to go to. So again, utilize that because it literally works. I was like, I have 120 emails in Columbus. Guess I'm going there, right? But again, like I've talked about many times with the one nighters, they're called the one night shows, is that they usually get paired with another city. So I don't just go there for one show like I'm doing in Orlando, but that's fine because that was one we needed on the books, so it's all good. And so my agent paired up Columbus with Cincinnati, and specifically the Liberty Township Funny Bone. That's the kind of the main Cincinnati room. And just going into it, I had like I don't know, 60 emails, 70 emails in Cincinnati, very comparable to like a Salt Lake City. So I was a little like, I don't know how this is gonna go. But again, I'll give it a shot. It's kind of like the Nashville Louisville thing way early on in this podcast. It was like Nashville I knew I'd do well in, and Louisville I knew I wouldn't, but I'll still go and give it a shot. Very similar vibe. So got the counts, and it was ticket counts rather, and it was fairly disappointing. I think it was like a little over 50 day before the show, and I was like, all right, a little upset about that because I'm like I wanted to do better. My Facebook ads that I was running got screwed up again. I had a long conversation with a Facebook like phone support thing when I was eating the peanuts having dinner, and I like legit kind of lost my cool on the call, and I'm not proud of it. Okay. I'm keeping myself accountable on this podcast. I was talking to just some guy in India who was very nice, but he was explaining things in a way where it was like, dude, like you could have summed this up so much easier than taking me through this whole thing and doing the like, I understand why you're concerned. I'm like, yo, stop understanding and just fix the thing for me, please. And be clear. No disrespect to him. The key is with customer service calls, I always make sure I tell the person, I'm like, yo, this is not your fault. I'm not mad at you. You're great at what you do, but I'm frustrated. Basically because I just learned some information I didn't know. And so it's one of these things that happened where I needed to kind of fuck up to then learn how to do it for next time, which is what happened. So I was a little bummed with ticket sales because I was like, oh man, I wanted to do some good Facebook ads for this one. And so didn't get that. We're getting a little in the weeds on this one, but I think you guys have been listening so far, so you know the deal. And another hard part is, again, I think I mentioned it early on, Liberty Township, this club is like far from Cincinnati. It's like 45 minutes away. So if you live in Cincinnati, not only do you have to, you basically have to get out of work and immediately drive almost an hour to this random town to see your boy. And so I'm like, yeah, this makes sense why it's not doing super well here, because it's hard to get to, right? And it's a place that I don't even have a lot of fans. So, and it is funny to think about with these ticket sales. It's, maybe some of you are thinking like, oh, maybe, don't worry about the ticket sales. Just, be grateful, have a great show. And you're right. But also it's weird in stand-up to basically have my entire self-worth directly measured by a number. Truly, it's how successful you are in stand-up is basically how many tickets can you sell. So if I see that number, that is my worth. That is my self-worth of how I feel and type of success I'm doing. So the ticket sales matters a lot. And it matters for if clubs are like, yeah, we want him back. Club matters for my agent to be like, oh, glad I signed him. Matters for me, for my bank account. It's like, these are all really important things. So that's why ticket sales are kind of everything at this point, in terms of the business side of things. But I also, I was with my buddy Nolan for this trip, who's just the best, and very thankful that he comes with me. Just doing the road with like your best buddy, it's like kind of the best shit ever. It's really the most fun. And, he made a good point, which I've thought about before, is I feel like, I feel very confident about the future. I feel very sure of myself and what I'm doing and my work, to where he made a good point being like, you're going to look back on these days and be like, oh, remember that? Remember when I went to a city and sold 50 tickets? Remember I went to a city, sold 100 tickets? When I'm selling shit out, it's like, oh, look, like be fond of these days, the kind of the come up, the struggle, because that's the where you shit, the like loving the journey instead of the destination shit. That's what I'm trying to get to, is that remembering these days and being grateful for the 50 ticket days. So that's how I'm trying to spin it, trying to reframe it. And it was great, man. We did a 2-man show, which means I don't think I've talked about this on this podcast yet, but usually the way the show works is it goes host, feature, headliner. Host does like 10 minutes, feature does like 20, and then the headliner does 45 to an hour. And when you go to a city, sometimes they want to book a local host, which means, I'll bring the feature and the club books the host. But it's a little dicey because you don't know who they're going to book. You don't know if the host is going to be bad, weird to hang out with. What if they do like all crowd work? I got to like talk to them before and make sure they don't do that. It's like another layer of shit to think about. And so what I've been doing lately is we negotiate with the club and say, hey, we're doing a 2-man show. I'll have an opener go out and do 25 minutes, and then I'll go out and do the time. We don't need a host. That's fine. Some clubs make you have a host. I've had that where they're like, nope, we're booking a host. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But it's just great because it's just me and my buddy in the green room. We don't have to deal with anything else. You don't have to try to get to know someone right before the show. We just do our thing. We know the process. We're dialed in and can just do the show. And it was my first time doing these clubs called the Funny Bone. That's a brand of shows. It's like the Improv, right? Zanies, these Funny Bones. And they rock. They are awesome. They are beautifully built. The staff is cool as shit. Run very well, professionally, nice, helpful, great vibe. Great vibe. Funny thing happened when the show, let me just say this, but those 60 people that were there were fucking awesome. They were so cool. And the show was so much fun, man. Sometimes you get these small crowds. Same thing happened in Louisville where it's like you get 50 people there or whatever. And like, they're all there to see you and have fun. So it's going to be fun. Acoustically, it may not sound good because it's a huge room that's not full, but dude, we had a blast. These people were so great and so fun. Dude, even this happened. The day of the show, I went to the airport to get a rental car because we had to drive to Columbus the next day. And I chopped it up a little bit with the rental car guy. And he said, oh, you saw my ID. He said, oh, LA, are you an actor? And I was like, I could be. No, I was like, oh, no, I do stand up. And I'm doing a show here tonight. And he was like, oh, no way. And we started talking about it. He's like, maybe I'll come. And dude, he came. The rental car guy came and brought his sister. And they both bought merch after. It was like, what a sweet thing. And if you think about it, I'm kind of like, with the two tickets, two t-shirts, I'm like, hey, pay for the rental car. Thanks for the rental car guy. Appreciate it. Shout out to that guy, man. That was, I couldn't imagine like meeting someone and then deciding to go to a show like 3 hours later. I like can't even imagine doing that. But this guy was just like, yeah, I'll go. I was like, cool. What a cool life. I need to do more shit like that. Anyways, the show was really fun. A little bit of an awkward moment happened during the show. Well, actually, 2 awkward moments. God damn it. Fucking Nolan, dude. This is my guy. But he made such a funny mistake. When his set was done, he brings me on stage. And when he was done, dude, he spilled like half of his water bottle on the ground. All over the ground. Like the wood floor, small stage, all over the ground. And I didn't even know until I got on stage. So I would do the whole passing, hey, the music's going, hey, that's what's up. And he was like, sorry. And I looked down, there's like water everywhere. I'm like, bro, what am I getting fucking electrocuted? Like, what are you doing? I'm like slip sliding around during my set. I'm like, dude, it was so like quiet in the room because there's 60 people in a 400 seat room. You can like hear my shoes on the floor like it's an NBA game. I'm squeaking around up there trying to tell jokes, get these 60 people to laugh. I'm like, God damn it, Nolan. It's legit distracting. But so funny though, because it's like, oh, that's what this shit is. That's what comedy is. When your buddy's bringing you on stage, spills water everywhere, you're like, God damn it. That's why I'm in this thing. It's fun, man. It wasn't fun. Is this that happened? I don't think this is the first time this has happened, but God damn, is this? I gotta just learn from this situation and just not do this again. But it's, I see a table in the front, and it's I think it's 3 ladies and a guy. And we've established that the 3 ladies, it's mom, 2 daughters, and then a boyfriend. And I made the stupid decision to ask, oh, where's dad? And you can kind of piece together what happened next. Dad's not here anymore. Dad passed away. And I got to just not ask that question because it's like, because in case he is. The best case is they say, he's at home watching football, and I can make jokes. Whatever. I can say something funny, right? But the fact, it's like, I know that that's a possibility, and I still asked. And it was like, yeah, weird for everyone. And I did a very good job of kind of pivoting out of it, but it's just weird, man. I got to just never ask that. Where's dad? Don't care. Moving on. Messed up. Recovered nicely though. They were super cool about it. That's what's good, is that the mom was not like, how dare you ask me that? She was just like, they were laughing about it. They're like, yeah, awkward, but and I'm like, and then I slip and eat shit on the water stage. Always learning. Speaking of learning, I did something that I've yet to do on this tour, and I can't believe it took me this long to do it. It's what's called, and Mike's gonna know what I'm talking about, it's called a merch pitch. So at the end of the show, what some comics will do is that they will end their set and they will stay on stage and be like, hey guys, thanks for coming. I'm selling this merch after the show. Maybe make a joke about it. And they say, I'll see you out there. Right? I've seen comedians I like do it. I've seen comedians I don't like do it. So I've seen variations of it, and I've never wanted to do it. I like when the show is done to be like, thank you, enjoy the last applause. Hopefully I close strong and you enjoy the moment, and then you walk off stage, and then maybe the opener or someone else can explain, hey, meet and greets out there, blah, 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 blah. And so, I sell merch after the shows, and I've never done super well with merch. I just assumed that it's just what it is. I'm just not a big merch guy, which is fine. I'm not super worried about it. And but Nolan and I were like, hey, why don't you should try doing the merch pitch at the end of the show to see what, how it goes. And I was like, yeah, let me do it. So I did it. I stayed on stage. I gave people a genuine thank you, which I'm glad I did because I think people appreciated it, and I felt like a good dude doing it. And I said, hey, I'm selling the merch. It's a reference to a joke. I say what the merch is. People laugh. And I'm like, thank you again. I'll see you out there. And I was like, oh, that felt smooth. Curious if it makes a difference. So just to give you a perspective, let's say I do a show for 150 people. In terms of how much merch people are buying, maybe 5 shirts after a show. It's probably less than 10% of the people buy merch. It's not a great, I've not done super well with merch. I will keep it real with you guys. It doesn't do great. But for 60 people, I sold 13 shirts, which is a lot. A lot. That's almost the most merch I've sold. Maybe not the most. Nashville is pretty crazy, but some of the most merch I've ever sold after a show. Point being, the merch thing works. The merch pitch, it works. I had no idea. And I did it in Columbus. Same thing. It did great. So I guess I just bring that up to say hey, here's another thing that I learned this week. My dad's in advertising, and I told him, and he was like, yeah, no shit. Advertising works. What have you been doing? And I'm like, I know. For 10 months, I haven't been doing this. Probably left so much money on the table. But that's what I say. I'm always learning.
I've seen a famous good-looking comics merch pitch be longer than the host time.
No way. Oh, see, you know what it is? I think I was turned off to it because I've seen people do it bad. And I've always thought it's kind of hacky. It's a little oh, I'm selling. It's ugh, I don't like it. I don't like it. It's because I've seen it done badly. And I'm like, ugh. It's I always thought it was lame to be hey, the merch. It's what are you doing, bro? And then and I've seen people do that, and then they do their closer. I'm like, ugh, God, I hate it. But it fucking works.
Marvel post-credit scenes, those motherfuckers.
Oh yeah, that is exactly what it is. Man, so gonna keep it moving here. Drove to Columbus, 2-hour drive, doable. The vibes were good. Something so funny happened on the drive that I didn't find out until later. And I'm giving away a story that Nolan and I talk about on the bonus pod that we recorded. But he's a guy who likes doing the a nicotine buzz, He does a dip thing, but a healthy dip version. It's like a zing. I forget what it's called. Do you know what I'm talking about? Zin. Yeah. Do you know much about this Zin shit?
I don't know any of them to be healthy.
Okay. I think it's healthier. It's of all the things, it's the lesser of the evils.
Better than cigarettes, for
exactly,
sure.
Exactly. And so this is what I didn't. So this is what happened: is that we were driving and he put a Zin in. I don't think I even knew that. And unbeknownst to me, again, I found this out after, he was on the verge of puking, and he didn't say anything. He just dealt with it and breathed through it and just tried to I'm gonna force it down and just not deal with it. And I didn't know any of this. And what was so funny, he told me afterwards, is that he was so in his head trying not to puke that he wasn't even listening to what I was saying. I would say some shit and then he would respond in a way that it's he's not even listening. And he said that one time I actually caught him not listening. And again, I didn't know any of this until after. I was saying how I was bummed because I landed back in LA at 4 p.m., which is rush hour, and I was pissed about it. And we were driving, and this is him about to puke. I went, oh man, yeah, I landed in LA at 4 p.m. Ugh. And he was like, cool. And I was like, what? I caught him not listening, and he was like, a bummer. But it was so funny to hear that after the fact that I had no idea this dude was legit suffering and just caught. It was just so funny that I was just like, what? Cool, man. Yeah. Just not listening. Cool. I'm like, what? He's like, oh, I don't know. It's really cracked me up after. Got to Did Columbus, another just well-run, just sick club. That club is, Mike, have you ever been to the Columbus Funny Bone before?
I have not.
It's like, you could shoot a special there. It is beautiful. It's like $375. It has this balcony that's just, it's like a nice, maybe you put like 50 people up there, and then the bottom's probably 300. It's like just a beautiful club. One of my favorite stages I've ever been on in comedy is that stage. It's just not too high. You're a little far from people, not too far. It's just a great vibe up there. I love it. And in terms of tickets, again, always going to keep it real with you guys. Maybe too real. Maybe I should keep it more vague of what I'm selling. Maybe I should act like I'm selling more than I am. But I don't know. I'd rather, because I know I will one day. I'd rather just keep it real at this point. I did, I was at like day of, I think it was at like 109 or 110 paid tickets. And then the club did like a $2 promo thing to help fill the room, which this is the inside scoop of how that works. They did it probably just to get more butts in the seats, get more drinks. Makes total sense. Didn't really ask me, but I think I would have said yes anyways. So let it rip. They sold another like 80 of those. And so, it was almost 200 people in the room, which to me, it's great. Not only do I have my fans there, but, probably some people who don't know who I am, which is good. Because I like to think that I'm also very relatable and can get anyone on my side. My comedy is not very niche. It's not alt. It's very like kind of down the middle, and I can kind of get anyone. Old, young, doesn't really matter. I like to be able to get everyone to laugh, and it was a great show, man. It was one of those shows that, like, up top, I was like, God damn, they are good. There's some audio issues which I didn't love. During Nolan's set, I heard in the back the audio was like really scratchy and weird, and I asked the sound booth like twice, like, hey, can we fix, or is this fixable? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do? So I get on stage and I'm talking to the microphone and I don't hear it at all. And I was like, oh, cool. And then I hear after the fact, Nolan was like, yeah, the audio was pretty shitty, huh? And I was like, oh, no. So it was happening during my set and I just couldn't hear it. I think it was like the back speakers, but it was weird because the crowd, like, they really lost steam. And I don't know. And I think he told me that, and I think the audio had to do with it. And also this, again, it's good to get observations from the opener because I don't know what's going on. I'm just doing my act, and it's hard to tell what's exactly happening. Especially, he had a great observation that they were a one drink crowd, meaning they got one drink, and by the time they finished that drink, I probably went on stage, and then they just get sleepier and sleepier and sleepier and sleepier. So by the end, they're like, oh, all right. They're laughing, but they're like, I'm gonna go home. I had my one Baja Breeze, with a silly straw. I worked all day. I'm exhausted. So by the last like 10 minutes, I was kind of like, hey guys, where'd you go? But again, very nitpicky. They were sick. I liked them a lot. One of the things I actually like the most about them is that there's this weird moment that when I'm done doing crowd work, I have to transition back into the jokes. And that's a weird re-entry back into written material. A lot of times a little clunky because people are enjoying the craziness of crowd work. And then they're like, oh, okay, back to written material, right? But this is one of the best crowds, if not that rocked with me on that transition. They were just as good, going right back into jokes. They just were good and stuck right by me. So it was great, man. It was probably also one of the, if not the longest meet and greet I think I've ever had. It was in Columbus, of all places. Y'all came through, man. It was awesome. Like, long line. Felt great. Bought merch, did the merch pitch, went great. And I'm pumped about that realization for the show. I'm excited to keep doing it, man. Excited to have you guys be a part of these meet and greets too, which I do at every show for everybody. Doesn't matter if you're VIP, if you're a normie, doesn't matter. Everybody gets to say what's up to me after. So, look, man, it also, I think what was nice, I talked about this last week, is that how I was so frazzled with the travel and the logistics. It's just so much to cover. I was like really not in a good place last trip because I was overwhelmed, man. And but this trip, I gave myself an itinerary of essentially like where to be at what time. Here are the food places to go to, and just really like think ahead, right? And that helped so much, man. I was probably the best I felt on the road in a long time. I was well rested. I wasn't stressed. I didn't give myself editing to do. I got everything done on the flight, and I was just in the moment, being able to coordinate, having things already coordinated for me. So I just follow along my little itinerary, and it was just a really good system. And I don't know, man, this probably wasn't like one of the funnier podcasts I've done, but this is, I don't know, this is what this is all about. This is the inside scoop. into what it's like doing this shit, man. Because you don't really know what it's like from afar. You see the clips, you see the posts, but you're like, what's really going on? This. Things like the headphones shit. Things like the merch pitch. Things like Nolan spilling water on the stage and almost puking on the road. It's like this is what stand-up is. And it's really fun to share it with you guys, and I hope you enjoy it too. And again, this podcast will continue to evolve into who knows what it's going to be, man. But I'm going to be here doing this for a long time. Guests coming soon. Again, comment any guests that you want to see on the show. I will absolutely take it into consideration. And, I reached out to Obama. He's so far, 0 for 1, but there's a lot of other people we can try to get. And please like and subscribe, do all the stuff. That always really helps. And next week, I'll be back doing a recap of Orlando and probably something else. I don't really know what's going to go on. I will say I'm going to a wedding in Mexico City in about a week and a half, I think. Or no, next week. End of next week is when I'm going to Mexico. So with Kaylee for a wedding. And I think we're going to do a little Mexico recap pod all about the trip to Mexico in a couple weeks. So looking forward to doing that. Looking forward to being back with you guys next week. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you watching and listening and consuming all of the content. You guys are the fucking best. Have a good rest of your week. I will see you guys next week. Shout out to Mike for producing. And that's the podcast. We'll see you guys later.